And we're online or live. Hey guys, how are you? Hey
Hello,
Ariel, how are
everybody.
you?
I'm doing great.
So we talked already, of course, a little bit about all this stuff. Anyway, so in this live stream, we just, as always, we're talking about all the stuff what comes to mind. So, and as always, if you have a question or whatever, just put a Q in front of the comment because this is so much easier. And I hope maybe we can have some special guests today, as at least in the chat. Let's hope for the best. Okay. Oh,
That's
what are you
right.
up to lately, Ariel? You're
Yeah.
producing a lot
So
of videos
yes,
compared to me.
yes, because I like the process of okay, just acknowledging, hey, I'm trying to learn this stuff. Here's my understanding so far, and people give me good feedback. So I want people to come on board with me to test. I want people to also test and figure things out, because people tell me, hey, did you try this? I tried this and it works, and they give me settings, and that feedback makes me improve faster. So if I wait 5 days or a week until I figure it out, I am growing slower. See, so when people give me the feedback
Yeah.
from one day to the other, I learn faster. I learn faster. And of course, because of that, sometimes I feel like, oh man, I should have done this in a different way, and then I have to do another video. It is what it is. That's the way
I
I
know
am. I am
exactly what you
doing it.
mean. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, but it's hard for me to find all the time. I'm still working on the Layers of Fear game, what I got on the PlayStation 5. And yes, surprisingly, we have HDR Black Level Rays in HDR, but it's not as bad as in other games. But I don't. Yeah, it's just really it's yeah, it's still bad because we're talking about a very dark game. The contrast is important. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, especially
And I
on
got this.
horror.
I got this yesterday. I know it's
Forspoken.
not yeah, it wasn't on sales. I would never buy it otherwise. It's just for testing out. HDR was terrible. The whole game was terrible, the demo version when I played it back then. Let's see if it's better.
Yeah, I saw
If
the
I
Digital Foundry video. They said that it improved a lot. The
yeah.
graphics and the performance a little bit. I never tried. I never tried that game, so I'm
Yeah,
not sure how it works.
not sure about this. Okay, what I like to talk about today, of course, is the new tool what we have now from Lilium, which is a great tool for us, actually, especially for us. I'm using it now daily, and I still need to figure out, of course, a couple of things. But I think it's easier to use it on for console because you can't manipulate the game, let's say like this. So it's really just for reading stuff. On the PC, of course, you have millions of options, which makes it, of course, much more not difficult, I wouldn't say, but you need to make sure, of course, you know what you're doing. But you're the expert actually here because I haven't played much on the PC so far with this tool, just a little bit. Maybe you can say a couple of words about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been on a mission right now to let everyone know that HDR gaming right now on the PC is in a much better place. Just because we have this tool, and along with these tools, we have some other shaders that allow us to do tone mapping, basically. So if we have a game that doesn't have sliders, for example, we can now do tone mapping with these tools, which is
Yeah,
something very, very important, because to get the absolute best HDR experience, you definitely want what the game, so that max CLL, that the brightness that the game is trying to output, you want that to be a specific value depending on your display. So if your display has HGIG, or if it doesn't, what is the tone mapping target? Is your displays, if it doesn't have HGIG, it's doing tone mapping. So now it's doing tone mapping. What's the target? Is it trying to do tone mapping with a 4,000 nits target, or is it 1,000? What is it? You need to learn that. You need to know that. You need
yeah,
to know your display. And
Let
the cool
me
thing,
try to share maybe something what I recorded. It's very hard because I'm just having the free version of StreamYard, but I have some video files what I recorded. The problem is they're most likely in HDR, so maybe they're looking a little bit odd. Because let me try to share this. You can apparently share a video file. Let's try this. What is happening when I'm doing this? Oh shit, this was wrong. Sorry. I don't want to have the sound. So can you see this, guys? I hope so. So this is recorded. It actually looks good. This is surprisingly. This is. I think it should be in HDR actually.
it looks good.
So and yeah, and this is the So what you can see, there is Witcher 3 from, was it Xbox or PlayStation 5? Can't remember. But let me actually. Why is this showing? Yeah, that's better. So when you look at the brightness chart or histogram or whatever you call this, you can actually see that even in this very bright scene here, we have actually part of the game, and that's his that's a character Gerald, which has perfect or almost perfect HDR black level rays. Well, no, the HDR black level floor. Let's say it like this. Here now you can see, of course, because of the sun, we can't expect anything, but you can also see as soon we're turning around again that even in the background from the trees or whatever, on the forest, whatever, we have really very great black level floor. That's it already. It's 800 megabytes, and that's it already. Okay, good. Anyway, now, so that's what I'm using right now. So the problem really what we have is that we can't use it, or we can't change settings in reshade for console games. That doesn't work, but yeah, it's still a great tool. I'm so happy, because it makes things so easier. Absolutely. Let's just stop this here. Can we stop this here? Yeah. So can you see actually on the screen? I don't know if there's the bar now hiding, but when you look at the histogram now, you can see a couple of spots reaching almost zero, and that's back in the wood somewhere. So this game has really, I would say, probably no HDR black level floor. It really depends what your gamma settings is actually. If you increase your gamma too far in the game, then you raise the black level floor. But with the standard setting, it's perfect.
Yeah, and for people to understand this graph a little bit better, imagine that this graph is the picture, the entire picture. So you see the character itself, and sometimes you're able to identify the objects on the game because they look like, for example, you're driving a car and you see the car is in the center of the screen, and you see the histogram actually looks like the car. So this is everything that's on the screen, and it's showing you the entire range, the brightness that it has.
So I don't have maybe I have a video from Diablo. I'm not sure. I need more storage actually. I figured out I have so many videos I can't store them all. But I'm very sure I made a video about Diablo 4. And the weird thing is you have terrible black level rays in this game, but the user interface has zero black level and black level rays. It's just, where you just do bloody hell. It would be possible. What have you done? What have you done? Is it here? Is this Diablo?
Yeah, we have to say, we have Lilium in the comments, man.
Yes,
We
yes,
have
that's
to we have to all applaud the work that this man has done. Is
absolutely
so important. And he told me in the comments that I asked him, "Hey, how did you get, the level of expertise to be able to design a tool like this?" And he told me, "I am self-taught. I just study. I read. I did my research. Like, I can only imagine how much this man had to study and work just to make these tools available." And this is right now, in my opinion, there's nothing more important to HDR gaming. Period. I mean, this changes everything. And on the PC, we have the options to analyze, and with the shaders that he created, we can change the picture too. So this gives us the option to fix HDR gaming like in any way, And also, if you just want to just tweak the picture, so it is brighter or more colorful or whatever, you can also do that. So it's absolutely incredible work and absolutely amazing. We have to invent like a trophy or something for this man because this is so important, so good. I
Yeah.
cannot thank him enough.
Yeah, no, really, I appreciate this as well, and he's very helpful when you ask him questions and explains a lot and whatever. Perfect, really, really great. That's the good thing on communities like this. It's just great. So what we have here now is Diablo. This looks probably a little bit, because I think this is recorded in HDR. That's why it looks. So don't forget about the colors, okay? But look actually where we are sometimes with the black level floor. Can you see that we actually having here? I don't know what I'm doing. Actually, I have no idea which media I'm doing, to be honest. But we have sometimes really good HDR black level rays or black level floor, but not all the time, unfortunately. Not all the time.
Oh, I
And this
have a
is what makes,
question.
yeah.
I have a question for Lillian. Sorry. And it's about this black level floor. Sometimes I see that you see right now, for example, in this shot, you see that the graph is kind of shaky. Like it looks like a
Yeah.
little bit of an interference. Like it is. You get what I'm saying? Like there's a noise on the graph. So I
Yeah.
wonder if that is normal, or if that is like some errors that are happening on the fly. Because, for example, when I am testing the black level floor, I see sometimes that there is an object on the game that is like it has this noise, it is flickering. So it might be giving me like a false zero black, maybe, but it is not actually what's going on. So I would like to ask Lillian if this is something that is like a false. Like when it is noisy like that, is that an accurate reading, or is that some errors on the calculations on the algorithm? I would be interested to know that because I don't see that happening all the time. There are some games that where the graph looks very solid. It looks very very stable. You don't see that noise. I'm not sure if you have experienced that, Marcus. What I'm saying.
Uh, I know what you mean. You have sometimes this just a few points in, or what? What do you mean exactly? Yeah, just it's a
Yeah. So
little
what?
bit noisy.
Yeah. For example, let's say you have like for the previous case, you have the Witcher character in the center of the screen, and that's where you see the perfect blacks. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you see that there's no changes on the picture. You see that the character is just
Yeah.
standing there. There's no changes in brightness on the picture. And on the other hand, you see that there is like a noise sometimes in the black floor, or sometimes on the highlights. You see that there is a shakiness on the graph, and you don't see anything changing. So I would expect that everything stays exactly the same. Like there's no movement. And on the other hand,
Yeah.
I do see movement. So I wonder what is that? What's going on? What's happening there? Is that just errors on the calculation, or sometimes like this? For example, you see that the graph is looking like there are some horizontal lines on the graph. Um, that I don't see that on every game. There are some games where the graph just looks absolutely solid. There's almost no noise or shakiness. For example, here right now, if you pause the graph here, you see that there's like a black line on the. Go back a little bit. You see like there was like a black horizontal line, like something is missing. Or you see here, you see that there are some horizontal lines close
Yeah.
to zero, and
I'm not
especially on
sure.
auto, yeah, especially on auto HDR when you open, it looks completely different. Okay, so let's see what Lillian says. When the graph is flickering, that is an accurate reading. Some games use a film grain shader, which can cause that. For
Oh,
example,
okay.
Diablo 4 has one. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you. That's very, very useful to know that. film grain, man. So I've never seen that
Yeah.
looking good, and some games don't let you turn that off for some reason.
No, that's not on the QD OLED. That's just raw footage actually recorded right now. It looks odd, to be honest. It looks odd because it's recorded in HDR. The colors are not correct. I can clearly see this. And it has a very low resolution here. It's recorded in 4K actually with over 100 Mbit. And thanks to StreamYard, it looks like 480p right now. You can't even read anything on the reshade here right now. Bloody hell. Yeah, maybe when we're doing more live streams, I need to upgrade. That's not good. Or maybe next time I do OBS again because we can easily stream in 1440p. That's
Okay.
just not a good quality. But anyway, it's better for now than nothing. So, but again, this tool is really, really good. Absolutely. So, of course, we need to learn how to read it perfectly. We need to understand if we have maybe false readings. We need to understand how we can actually see if there is really false reading, and we need to have some reference games as well. I mean, reference games, I found a couple of already, like Spider-Man or Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation 5, as really perfect HDR implementation. We have the PlayStation 5 system level calibration support for the games, and it just works perfectly. And then, of course, we have negative games like Cyberpunk. Do I have Cyberpunk here as well? For sure, I have Cyberpunk somewhere. I recorded so much stuff, really.
Also, Lillian is saying that in the case of the recordings that you're showing right now, is saying that maybe these lines on the graph, what I was asking about, this horizontal lines, that looks like there's something missing, this horizontal black lines. He's saying that that's maybe because you're using 8 bits for the recordings, or using 8 bits. Is that on the console 8 bits?
No, so I mean, if it's an HDR, then it's output in 10-bit. And so what I'm using to record is GeForce Experience, so NVIDIA on-screen recording. That's what I'm doing because I can't record at the same time. And maybe, hey, that's actually a good idea. Now I have an idea. But anyway, so I'm using my Elgato card, but I can't display and record at the same time. But I have a second Elgato card now, so I can actually use one for the HDR and the other one to record real raw footage. Let's see if this works better. But I mean, that's how it is at the moment. I have actually Cyberpunk as well, and you can see how bad this is. Is this one? That's Cyberpunk, I think. Yeah.
I see in black levels.
Yeah. So sorry for the bad quality, and this is clearly the wrong colors. I mean, look at this. This is HDR recorded and trying to, I don't know, just looks awful. But that's how it looks in real as well. It's just, I tried a couple of things in this video, to get the black level floor better. So forget about this. I think I tested the maximum peak brightness here when I'm changing the midpoint setting to see actually what is the absolute minimum I should go. And I think it was 0.8 to 1 or whatever. Because below 0.8 or whatever, you lose the maximum peak brightness, what you have set in the maximum peak brightness setting, which is also bad, of course. But this is something what I don't understand. If you change the mid slider, why are you affecting the maximum peak brightness? It should not touch the maximum peak brightness. But anyway.
I have a question to ask Lillian while we have him here.
Yeah.
I requested him that I think that the only thing we are missing is some test patterns on HDR. Some HDR test patterns, because, for example, on the PC, we have the shaders that allows us to change the picture, to fix the HDR, and we can see the results on the graph. But on the console, you need to rely on, for now at least, you have to rely on the display settings. So let's say you're gonna lower the black level of your TV. I need, in order for me to tell that if the TV settings are fixing the game, I need a test pattern. So he was telling me that that is already there, behind all this, underneath the program and the algorithm. Those test patterns are there already, that he just have to work in exposing those test patterns. And I think that's the only thing we are missing. Like, you having a test pattern is gonna allow you to see what your TV settings, what your display settings are doing exactly to the picture. Because if you have a near black test pattern, that you just have to, that what I'm talking about is that the test pattern is responding to the HDR in the game. So if the game looks washed out, the test pattern is going to be washed out. It's going to look raised. So you're going to have a test pattern that is going to allow you to tell if you're actually fixing, for example, the black level raise. You're supposed to have perfect black here. You're supposed to see this logo or whatever the test pattern is. That's the only thing we're missing, a relationship between the display settings and the HDR settings on the game. Because you can see here, okay, the black level is raised. I need to lower that using my display settings, my TV settings. But you don't know if you are lowering your display black level enough or if you're lowering it too much. I mean, of course, we do have some experience doing this already. You were able to fix the HDR before having this tool. But having an HDR test pattern is going to allow you to know for sure.
Yeah.
I believe that would be great.
So can you see this example here right now? When you look at the left part from the histogram, that's the UI symbols. They're
Yes.
actually, they're reaching almost zero. But the rest of
Yes.
the game does not.
Big problem. Big problem. So you know what
Yeah.
what I did with that is basically you have to go to a part of the game
Yeah.
where you have a light source and then have the, you see, let's see if it happens here. See how the black floor of the UI is going to increase.
Yeah.
What I'm
Yeah.
saying is, let's say you have a light source and then you move the camera to have the light source where the UI is, then you get that outlier raise. See, so that's what you need. You
Yeah.
need to raise that UI floor so you can see the actual game information, so you know if you're fixing it or not. That's what I had to do on the PC. Of course, I disabled all the UI possible, but there was a still, and on the right corner, at the bottom right corner of the screen, there was an UI, the HUD element, that I was not able to turn off for some reason.
Oh,
Even if
okay.
you turn off all the HUD. So what I had to do is do that. Go to a light source on that part of the screen, and then have on the other side of the screen have something that was dark. So I don't have that UI giving me a false black floor. See, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely that definitely
No,
happens.
it's just annoying, you know that it's possible, and they still messed it up like crazy. And especially Cyberpunk is really great in HDR specular highlights, but the black level floor is just so bad, really so
Yeah,
bad. Absolutely.
yeah, that game is the perfect opportunity to give you the best HDR ever. I mean, a night city full of neon lights. It doesn't
Hmm.
get any better than that. That's the
Yeah, yeah.
best opportunity, and they messed it up. They missed that opportunity to give you the best HDR ever.
And I heard just the other day, what's the name from the game which is going to be released on was it 26? Remnant 2?
Remnant from the Remnant 2. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, apparently not even HDR support at all. No HDR support.
really.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. I can't try.
That's
So there's
so that's very
that's
strange. I mean, the
yeah.
first one, Remnant from the Ashes, I beat that game. I like that game a lot, and it didn't have a HDR. And I opened it the other day. It was not even supporting the auto HDR from Windows 11, which is very
It
strange
was
because almost, yeah, it was
it
not
was the same
supporting
with
the.
Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2, when it was released. I mean, also would be great opportunity actually to have HDR in this game, but there's zero support. I still think there's even no outer HDR support at all. So
No,
Dying
on
Light
Windows
1 has
11,
auto. Yeah.
No, Windows 11 it does have it. I have it installed right
Okay.
now. Dying Light 2
Does
it
have
does have the auto HDR.
okay auto HDR. At least they added this maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
they
Dying
add
Light.
that
Yeah.
later. They add.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just I don't know what is the problem with. I mean, don't get me wrong. I rather have, of course, a bug-free game than yeah HDR and a lot of bugs. But HDR should be a minimum in the game nowadays. To be honest, it should be just there, like DLSS. It's just a major feature.
Yeah, so the way I think is this: if you are releasing a game that has ray tracing and all of that, someone who wants to play, for example, Cyberpunk with all the ray tracing features and all of that, nobody's going to play, on a $7,000 gaming PC, play on SDR on a crappy LCD monitor. That doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. If someone spends that kind of money, you are expecting that person to play with an HDR display. Okay.
I know. Yeah.
So a game that has ray tracing, has no HDR, or has all these NVIDIA features, or a game that is trying to look good and it doesn't have HDR, doesn't make any sense. Like, because someone playing that game to get all that graphical fidelity is definitely gonna play that on an HDR screen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So here I show actually in this video the heat map, which is also very useful because everything what is above SDR brightness, no, sorry, not heat map, it's a brightness map. Or is it called heat map? I think so.
yeah,
But everything which is above SDR brightness will be shown as a color, which is of course very helpful. And you can change this also from 10,000 to 1,000 nits, which is more suitable. I'm not sure if I'm doing this because then you can really see. Oh, here I have done it. I think quickly. It's just a video. I can't change anything. But anyway, this is good, really, for seeing specular highlights and see actually details in specular highlights. Because when you just look at the screen, it's very hard for you to actually distinguish details. And when you use this tool and then maybe later you zoom in, you can really see pixel actually which having a different color or different brightness. And this is very helpful to determine actually if HDR has a good quality or not. So, and I've done this also. You can't see this here. You can see there's also an option where the tool reads out what color gamut is used, and it's quite interesting because many games. So the main color range what is used is BT709. Just a few games actually Cyberpunk uses. I saw the maximum reading for DCI-P. DCI-P3 was around 47%. 47%. So I haven't seen any game which changes the BT 2020 so far.
yeah. The
I
most
haven't seen.
colorful, yeah, the
Yeah.
most colorful game I've seen so far is Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Oh, okay.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it does pushes the colors,
I haven't seen this. Yeah.
very nicely, consistently in a lot of scenes. One thing I wanted to say about this color gamut is that you can see when you lower the black level, you can see that the colors they become more saturated. I mean, you can see it with your eyes, but it also shows on the graph that you get more color saturation. So when you have a game that has the black level raised and you lower that with the settings on reshade, or even with your, I'm not sure if that would happen with your TV settings. It definitely looks more colorful when I lower the black level on my TV, but definitely when I use the reshade tools to lower the black level, you get more color saturation. You get a more colorful picture, and the difference is big. It's not small. It's a very big difference. Um, Even games that are like 100% or 99%, Rec 709, you lower that black level and it goes to DCI-P3 and even BT 2020. So that's very interesting. And I don't know. I don't understand why would that be the case. But
Yeah,
I definitely
but see,
see it.
that's the reason. Oh, here is here actually BT 5%. It's very hard to see on this bloody. It's such a bad quality. Anyway, I mean and that's the reason why we actually not seeing a lot of differences when we comparing TVs like the S95C versus the LG G3, for an example. Even the S95C has a much wider color range, from a technical point of view, but because it's not used, you can't use it. Just very bright colors, of course, stay more colorful on the S95C. I've seen this. My CX next to the S95C in some movies or games looks very pale. You know what I mean? Some like a little bit washed out. The brighter the colors are getting, the S95C stays on top. And just the other day, I watched The Witcher, so the series, and bloody hell, HDR is good in this series. Bloody hell, it's
Yeah,
so bright. I was like, oh, that's too much. That's too much.
yeah,
Really
that's good.
good, really good.
No, I think the biggest difference with this QD OLED is gonna be that full screen brightness. I mean, that's like 250 nits full screen, isn't it?
For SDR, I think you have something like, oh, I can't remember
I
actually
know
now.
for sure it's more than
It's
200. It might be
it's
230,
brighter
250.
than on the OLED TVs, yes, especially in gaming mode, much brighter. Bloody hell is this bright, compared to the OLED TVs from LG. But of course, the question is if you really need this, because I found it a little bit too much. But it's nice to have, of course. Don't get me wrong. And especially when you have games like Diablo 4, which looking terrible in HDR without having the option of fine-tune dark area settings. SDR, of course, on the S95C looks actually much better than HDR then, because there's not much. When we're talking about specular highlights in Diablo 4, there's not much. There's not much. So it's very important that you have perfect black level floor. And that's just in SDR the case. And then you can crank up the brightness a little bit on the S95C compared to the CX. CX is terrible dark in gaming mode SDR. Terrible dark. But
no, the other thing is we're talking about these games don't have, most of them on HDR, they are not pushing the color gamut.
Yeah.
But of course, you can always use your TV settings and push the colors, and regardless, you can just push the colors with the TV settings. And with these tools now, we can definitely figure out a way on the PC to push the colors too. There are ways to push the colors by changing the tone mapping. You can change the colors too. So I don't care if the developers, for example, I was analyzing the Uncharted 4 and the Lost Legacy, 10,000 nits, and all the colors are SDR colors. I'm like, 10,000 nits, 100% SDR colors. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? So I definitely want to get a little bit more colors on that game. So, there are ways to do that now with these new tools, which is very, very nice.
Here, just hang on in a second. This is Metro Exodus on the PlayStation 5. And this HDR is also, compared to the PC version is terrible without, there's a option actually where you can change some settings, and it starts with really good HDR, but out of the box, if you have no idea what you're doing, it's so washed out on the PC. So that's the PlayStation 5 version. Look at this. And you have 1000 nits, so it's supporting the HDR system level calibration. You have perfect HDR black level floor and up to 1000 nits, or depending what you set your console, of course. This is just amazing.
I want to read, Lilium is saying that games will be BT709 for many years to come because the whole creative process is BT709 in games. Yeah, the developers, it seems like that's what they work on. And there aren't much HDR texture formats and white color gamut texture formats. So he might be referring to the engines that they are using. And the tools that they are using, they just don't have this HDR.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fine because I'm not missing. Or do you miss anything in terms of colors in games sometimes? No, I personally think it's okay. I mean, not missing anything, to be very honest.
For example, I definitely, and I said this the first time I analyzed Shadow of the Tomb Raider, for example, the native HDR, and I compared that with the auto HDR from Windows 11 and all of that. I said the native HDR is more colorful, and it is a big difference. A big difference. It looks nicer because it is more colorful. And now I see with the tools that the game is actually pushing that, um, you know, the colors, and it looks better. I definitely want the games to be more colorful because here's my opinion. I don't care that much about the creator's intent. To not say that I don't care at all. Okay, if they don't want to push the colors, I am going to push them with my display because if my display is more colorful, I want to see those colors. So I
Yeah.
either push that with the TV settings or I want to push that with these new shaders that we have. So if they don't give me that, colorfulness, I want to have it. I don't care they don't give me that. Of course, if it's like a cartoonish game or something like that, I don't want to, too colorful. It might look bad, but
Yeah.
yeah, I do like it to be more colorful.
So hardware love is asking, hello guys, how many nits can the human eye maximum see? TV is getting brighter and brighter, but is there an end for the human eye? Yeah, of course. Look at the sun. You can do this once. Of course, there's an end because at some point it hurts, you know. And I said already in The Witcher 3, I watched this in a complete dark room, as you should do it. Okay, I think the recommendation is 5 nits or whatever for the environment or whatever. But it was a complete dark room, and it really hurts the eyes when suddenly there's a sunny scene. Of course, it hurts the eyes, and this is also what I said in a couple of videos already. At some point, it is enough. Because when you're driving down the road with a car and you have a sunrise, you're not looking in the bloody sunrise. You can't do it, you know. And the same, you can't do this with a TV when you have a scene like this. They can't show you this. You can't look into this. It's just normal. So yes, of course, I agree. At some point, we're reaching a limit where it's enough because it's just painful and maybe dangerous as well at some point. But not sure what the real value is. I can just say The Witcher 3 the other day was already on a level. Maybe I was tired as well, but that doesn't change anything. It was on a level where I said, okay, I had to do my eyes a little bit squinchy, you know, because it was too much. And yeah.
Yeah, so what I think about that is, let's say you have a display that can do 1,000 nits full screen. That's not gonna be comfortable to watch for sure.
No,
So
no.
if the developer has the power to blind me, I don't want that. So what I would like, once we have more capable displays, I would like to have the option to limit the full screen brightness if I want to. But I do want, because we need, for HDR accuracy, you need that full screen brightness, because when you see a chart of how good the display is following the EOTF tracking, all of that, that's on a 10% window. Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the displays have AVL. So for HDR accuracy, we need the display to be able to not have ABL at all. If it's 1,000 nits,
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
1,000 nits full screen. But the problem with that is that if the developers decide to give you a full white screen that's 1,000 nits, like I hate, for example, when I open a game and you see a full white screen, I'm like, man, I'm in a dark room, boom in the face. And my display is only like 130 nits full screen. Okay. So I definitely don't like that idea. But yeah, I think that we do need brighter displays for sure, and especially full screen. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even a TV can handle 1,000 nits full screen. You won't see this in a real scene, most likely. You know, you won't see this. But I get your point, because at some point it's not comfortable to watch anymore. That's the next thing. So I can remember when I calibrated TV monitors for broadcast industry many years ago. There was no HDR. There was no HDR. When we calibrated them, because most of the time the people working in a very dark room, we calibrated them to 80, 100, and 120 nits. This was the calibration standard back then, SDR. So 80, 100, and 120. That was our option on the TVs. Okay, professional graded monitors. But to be very honest, if I compare these LCD screens from back then, with LCD screens nowadays, oh bloody hell, were they bad! Really, bloody hell, were they bad! There is no comparison to nowadays. Bloody
The
hell.
plasma TV, I got this Pioneer Kuro Elite Pro 151 FD. It's an amazing TV. It looks incredible. But full screen, it struggles to hit 80 nits. Okay, struggles to hit 80 nits, and that's after going to the service menu and releasing all, lowering the ABL as much as possible. Yeah, it's challenging for that to get
It is,
100
yeah.
nits full screen.
But I mean, look, what we actually need more than actually, in my opinion, newer TVs is actually better content to actually utilize the TVs what we have at the moment. And then especially the Samsung QD OLED TVs are really great in terms of colors. And I mean, that's the reason why I'm using this as my main screen at the moment. Even there are some downsides with no FTDA settings, no fine-tune dark area settings, but in games like here, Metro Exodus or whatever, or Ratchet and Clank, it's just a dream. So much better than on the OLED TVs, to be very honest, because of the higher peak brightness. And the thing is, I always can compare the S95C with my CX. The CX is, when you just watch the CX, is a great TV. As soon you turn on the S95C and compare the same scenes, you don't want to watch on the CX anymore. That's really like bloody hell. This is, I mean, on the paper, twice as much peak brightness. It's not the real thing, and when you look at, but you can see much more details. That the picture on the S95C is more vivid. Okay, without being vivid. Okay, it's just more realistic. Okay, the DCX just looks very, very pale. Sorry to say this, but it's time to move on.
So I see here, I want to read this comment here from Lilium. I mean, because Lilium, I expect he's like an expert on this stuff. He's saying that the DCI-P3 colors in Cyberpunk are caused by the lighting and other techniques that the game engine are using to present the image. The textures are just BT709. So he's saying that most of the game textures are just SDR textures. And that makes sense. You design your game on SDR, the textures are going to be SDR textures. Then you turn on HDR and you're going to change the light sources and all that stuff. However, when I tested, and of course, the lights are heating the textures. So of course, I expect that if I look at a texture in game and I see that it has DCI-P3 or BT2020 colors, maybe it's still the lighting is what he's saying. But when I see in Cyberpunk, like a red share, for example, I see that it is pushing like BT2020, like 3% or something like that. Maybe it's just the lighting, it's not the texture itself. But I saw that too in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. You look at some buildings that are painted like green, and those greens are very powerful. It's like 30% the CIP3 or something like that. So that's interesting, and it makes sense. The developers are just the texture in games. They're not gonna have a different texture pack for the game when you turn on HDR. Maybe that would be nice, but
but can you imagine the work? What they, we should be appreciate they're actually putting HDR in games, like example Remnant 2. No HDR apparently, and we should have actually examples like The Witcher 3. How old is the game? 8 years, something like that.
It's from 2015, I believe.
Yeah. So and still, I would consider it's probably not the best HDR game because you're missing some details in specular highlights. I mean, but the game is 8 years old, But we have no HDR black level rays, We have no problems with a washed out picture. Nothing. This is just amazing, So why can't we have this not in other games? This I don't get it. If they can do it, then
no. And I especially don't understand how the same. I mean, it's not the same developers, but it's the same studio, CD Projekt Red. How can they do a good HDR on The Witcher 3 and then messed up Cyberpunk? Yeah. They maybe need to fire the Cyberpunk guy. Hey, just get The Witcher 3 color expert.
That's a good question. That's a good question because yeah, I mean, look at this. So this is very you can see DCI-P, P3, 48, 40, and even I think a little bit BT20 if I can read this. Very hard to read on this bloody very, very bad quality here. But this is Cyberpunk is really a great example for specular highlights, for great colors or whatever. And then you have this crazy HDR black level race, which is look at this HDR black level race. I mean, maybe right now in this scene we don't have perfect and it's not needed. I get this, but you can even see on the HUD, on the left side from the screen where your HUD is. It's behind the color space right now. It's much better than the rest of the picture. So I don't get it.
Yeah, so what I
Really?
did in Cyberpunk, I mean, I've worked on Cyberpunk HDR so many times because I know that this game could be amazing. And so I've been, working a lot. And finally I said, okay, these are my final settings. I think it looks amazing with those settings. And on the PC, again, we can change the picture using reshade and other shaders. So I use a shader on the PC that's called PROD 8003 curved levels, and it is part of the PD80 shaders. So I use this shader to lower the black level, but not only that. What I did is in game, this midpoint in game, I lowered that to 1 because when with the default 2, this midpoint and Cyberpunk with the default and 2, during the day it looks washed out. It looks, and I believe the reason is trying to push too much brightness. When you look at the average CLL with these numbers with this HDR analysis tool, you see that the average might be like 200 or 250 sometimes. So I'm not sure if that's the reason. That might be why during the day it looks washed out. It's just too much. It looks washed out. You cannot fix it. So then,
Yeah.
but if you lower that midpoint to 1 to fix the daytime, then the nighttime looks too dark. So now the nighttime looks too dark and washed out at the same time. So what I did with this shader is I lower the black level, so I have perfect blacks, and then I increase the visibility near black at the same time. Okay, so basically I was able, because of that, I was able to lower the midpoint in game so the daytime looks great, and near black it looks bright enough, and I have perfect blacks. So these tools, with these new tools we have on Reshade, is gonna allow you to fix the game. So what is that you need? You need to lower the black level. Okay, I lower the black level. Now it looks too dark. Okay, increase the visibility near black. Now it's too bright. You can do tone mapping. You can do anything you need. And yeah, I have it looking very, very nice right now on the
So
PC.
you were able to get the reshade running with Cyberpunk, or?
Yes.
Okay, I need to look into this again because it just after 2 seconds when you start the game, it just crashes Cyberpunk. Anyway.
Yeah. So
anyway.
yeah,
But
games
there's
sometimes. Yeah. Games sometimes, for security reasons, they don't let you use reshade. Like if you're playing an online game like Genshin Impact, for example, to have reshade working, you have to open the game. So you have to get the folders out of the main folder, because the game doesn't like you to have any other folder that is not in-game folders on the installation folder. So you have to open the game, and after the game is open and the verification was processed, and you use it, and you paste that back, and you have to do weird stuff sometimes because of the security of the games, or we don't know. Sometimes it's just a bug on the PC or whatever.
Anyway, but there are a couple of things, I mean, I still have to learn so much stuff in terms of PC because I'm used to be a PC player, but at some point I just changed to console because it's so much easier now for plug and play. You just start playing. That's how it is. But there's so much what you can do, actually. You can waste so much time on the PC with the right settings. It's unbelievable. And this was actually really the main reason why at some point I changed to console, because I found I'm changing picture settings more than I'm playing actually the game.
Absolutely. I beat Cyberpunk, okay, testing the HDR, and I got the right settings after I beat the game. Okay, now it looks good. I already beat the game. I don't care about it, but I'm still working on the settings. So yeah, it
Yeah, it's
definitely
just,
happens.
I mean, it's on the other hand, um, when I was young, I when I was younger, let's say like this, I had no problem with this, to using or to try new settings and whatever. And really, I would call it wasting time. But nowadays, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm getting upset, because you have a 8, 9, 10 hours day. You come home, dinner, supper with family or whatever. The little one's going to bed at 9, and then you're really tired, because you got up at 6:30, and then you like to do a video or whatever, or some playing, and then you start doing testing what the best picture setting is. No, I just really not. It's nah. I'm looking forward for my retirement really, in probably
Yeah,
40 years or whatever.
maybe you can YouTube retire soon. You got
No,
30
no.
subs already.
Yeah, okay. Make a zero, then we can think about it. Come on, it's not that easy now. Anyway, it's a start.
But yeah, this is
So
this is great, and I'm of course learning. I'm not an expert on reshade. Reshade is overwhelming. Like the amount of options you have with this reshade mod on the PC is overwhelming. I mean, nobody can be a master of everything on reshade. That's impossible. It's too much, too much. So
yeah,
I'm trying to identify what are the shaders that might be useful and try to play around with them to see if they can help. So I'm just getting started. But the good thing about reshade is that after I figure some things out, and for example, I fix a Cyberpunk HDR, it looks fantastic. I can share the settings, and it's just a file that you have to copy on your folder, and that's it. So I can make a video and tell you, hey, here's Cyberpunk, it looks amazing. Download the file, just have to install Reshade, with the right shaders, and just copy this file. And that's it. You open the game, the settings are there for you already. So that's something that can impact everybody on the PC. Even if they're using a different display, they just need to do minor tweakings to the shader
yeah,
just to get the brightness they need. But they get the black level rays fix and all of that. So
yeah.
that's
So
great.
have a look here. That's Diablo 4 loading screen. Can you see?
Yeah, it looks perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see what is happening when we loaded the game. Look at this.
1 nit.
Look at this, and look at
Man.
now what is happening when the UI symbols. It's even over 1 nit. Look at the click.
Wow.
That's the UI symbols now.
Oh,
It's suddenly much better. So this is terrible wrong.
wow.
Please, Blizzard,
That's
do something.
that's that's
This is
eye
terrible.
searing black levels. Eye searing.
Uh, and you can see it's not in the game. It's not in the signal, because otherwise the loading screen would be wrong as well. The
That's
loading
right.
loading
That's a
screen is
very
probably,
good.
yeah. So it's the game itself. It's the main game, and you can see here. Look at the UI symbols. They're reaching zero. They're reaching zero, but the whole game is around even more than 1 nit. That's bloody hell, And there
That is
was
so weird.
that's really weird, yeah. Because so Hardware Lover wrote this: the most gamers using LCD because this is maybe the dev think we don't need perfect black. I don't know. So then explain what's happening here, because we have perfect black level rays here, or black level floor on the UI symbols, or during loading screens. And just because an LCD has not a perfect black level doesn't mean he can not show all the details then, because it's just starting from there. It's always a little bit elevated, but you're not missing details actually. It's just
Yeah,
always elevated.
exactly. So it makes sense to think that okay, LCDs don't have perfect black, so then we need to have race black so people with LCD can see. But I have an LCD gaming monitor, it's an IPS gaming monitor, and it has eye searing black levels. Okay, it's like
Yeah.
20 nits with a black screen. It's terrible. Okay,
So it's
but
brighter than your plasma.
yeah, it's brighter than my plasma TV. So, but when you when you display a test pattern, this near black test pattern, you can see all the detail. All the detail is there. It looks terrible, but all the detail is there. So that's not a justification to have horrible black levels in games, because on LCDs you're still gonna get the deepest blacks possible depending on the display. You don't have to do that, basically. What I'm saying. I don't know. I would like to ask somebody like Lilium, if he's still here, why he thinks. I would like to get the opinion from people who know about this stuff, why they believe that this is happening with gaming today, because it happens with many games. So my theory is that all these developers, they are using the same tools, and that's why we see the same problems. There are some tools that they are using, the engines maybe, or something is wrong with them, and that's why we have the problems.
Yeah. It's just, but I don't get it that what is with quality control at the end? You know what I mean? You have you like Diablo 4, you developing a games which costs you a couple of $1 million. I don't know how much, So, and then don't tell me that you don't play the game on different TVs or whatever to make sure it's working actually. Not just different PCs. What's with the monitor you're using? You really just that, and that's the problem what I'm seeing. So all the special grading monitors, I haven't seen any OLED monitor. They're all LCD screens, which is, in my opinion, wrong. To be very honest, I wouldn't use an LCD screen anymore for color grading or whatsoever. To be very honest, no, I would not.
Yeah, they are supposed to have very good black levels because they are dual layer LCDs. But yeah.
So we have Brian's Tech Therapy in the house. Thank you so much. $20 I can feed my family for a week. Thank you very much. No, really, I appreciate this. And yeah, if you want to join, you can join if you want to. So he's doing a lot. Check out his channel. He's doing all the TV comparisons and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. If you like to have, if you like to see brand new TVs firsthand, because he has some connections, can work with. I forgot the name from the shop he's working.
Yeah, Value Electronics.
Oh yes, correct. Yeah, Value Electronics, and he's doing great great contest with Tech with KG and Glassy and something and FOMO. Really good. Okay.
Yeah, I told
check
him
out
that.
His channel.
I told him that we should invent a title on YouTube to crown the BMF comparison, because if you want to see 85-inch side by side, you have to watch Brian's channel. I mean, which reviewer can have two 85-inch TVs side by side? That's insane. Like, you
I can't fit it here. No way. No way. But that's why this is unique. Channels like this are very unique, and that's good. That's absolutely good. And to be honest, I like watching channels like Brian's Tech Therapy or FOMO or Tech with KG or also Glassy more over other channels, with $30,000 reference screens, because it's just more authentic, to be very honest. That's what I think. And it's they're talking about the real life thing and not just pure measurements, you know what I mean? That's my opinion. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Anyway, thank you very much again, Brian. Okay. And again, if you want to join, just let me know. Okay, what else do we have? Again, so this is, I think, I like to show this again for people maybe that just joined. This is Diablo 4. Let's see at the very beginning here. This is also interesting. Look at this. The very beginning of this video, I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm just standing around, and then when you start moving. So really some levels, if you look at this is actually perfect.
Really?
This is really good. That's the same video. I'm very sure it's the same video. Is it? Yes, I think so. I have just one video. Yeah, I just have one video from Diablo. Let me just jump a little bit ahead. Yeah, see, that's outside then. So
that doesn't make any sense. How can you have perfect black levels in one level and not in the other?
So that means it's done on purpose, because can you see this here at the moment? It really looks
Yeah,
good. So I mean, we need to understand, of course, we're talking here about a very bright environment, but that doesn't mean we should not reach zero or close to zero, because otherwise you have this washed out look, which is maybe done on purpose, maybe design decision, but it looks ugly. It looks absolutely ugly in my opinion. It doesn't look good. And as soon you change to SDR, you have a much better picture in my opinion. And especially when you play in the night. So here, this is another. So you can see the black level floor is not as good, but can you see there are some lines on the very bottom? It's really interesting. And when you,
absolutely.
it's
So Lilium is saying that he's saying that HDR is usually just tacked on
thank you.
because it is a wanted feature now. Image mastering is not really a thing on games, I reckon. They just eyeball it mostly. Only a few studios actually care about that. So if they are eyeballing HDR, they have to go to the doctor and check the do an eye
Yeah.
exam, because that's not very good eyeballing.
Now, I
Yeah,
mean, look, I agree with him. What he's saying in this one, and that's maybe what we not having perfect black levels could be a design decision. Yeah, absolutely. Um, maybe that's the thing, but I don't know if I have actually a recording here where you have scenes like this in the night, because then you can clearly see the big difference between HDR and SDR. Because if it would be a design decision, it should look similar in SDR. So I'm not saying that you have the same really details, whatever, because that's what HDR is. You know, you have SDR and then you have HDR with much more information. But that doesn't mean that the overall impression from the picture should change. You just have on the higher end and lower end more details in
yeah,
terms of that's what. But it should, if a game looks washed out by design, it should look washed out in SDR as well. Even more
absolutely.
probably, because you have less space to show fine details, you know but it's not the case in Diablo 4. If you have a night scene, especially when you in cities or whatever, like this here. What is this? Nothing. Like here, when you have a night scene or when it plays in the night, it's much better in SDR. So I don't get it, really. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
So near black, basically near black, SDR and HDR should look almost the same. I understand if they need to tweak the picture a little bit on HDR, because maybe if you have a very bright object on the screen, that blinds you a little bit, and then if it's too dark, what is close to that, if it's too dark, maybe you cannot see the detail. Maybe you have to raise that a little bit, but just a little bit. You don't have to just raise everything. That's not necessary. So they should look almost the same near black. The contrast of the picture on HDR should be higher, not lower.
Yeah.
Shouldn't, yeah. So the question is, can we get it? Maybe should we get a job as a quality control, the head of quality control in
Nah, I
one of
would go mad.
these
I would go
studios?
mad. That's the problem. They, I would go mad. They don't want people like us. Believe me,
Look,
because
I am not an expert, okay? I am not an expert. But if you just open the game on HDR, you will see that something is wrong. So, anyone that opened this Diablo game on an HDR, especially on an OLED, they will see that it is wrong. It doesn't look okay. So this is unacceptable. You shouldn't release the game with this kind of problem, especially a game like this that makes so much money. For example, Genshin Impact is a game that makes billions of dollars. Okay, not
yeah,
millions, billions.
yeah.
And that game has black level race on SDR. Okay, we're talking about you open that on your mobile,
Okay.
which might have an OLED screen, and you have raised blacks. It looks terrible on SDR. How can that happen? It's just
Yeah. I
absolutely
mean,
unbelievable.
if I so first of all, I'm impressed that this game has actually HDR in the first place, because this game is target to, as you said, make million, and they don't care about how the game looks like. But it looks actually quite good and it plays good. You have to say this. But this is probably they targeting an audience which don't care about this stuff at all.
That's
You
right.
know, they
That's right.
it doesn't. So is it? You can even play it on on mobile or the game Genshin. Even
On a low spec PC, it
yeah.
runs very well.
The same like Roblox or whatsoever. Okay. My God, they're making so much money, unbelievable. Anyway, heads up, quality control can be aware of an issue and still doesn't get fixed. Yes, trust me. Oftentimes QC is yelling about something, but it does. Yeah. I get this absolutely. I mean, I worked in, still working more likely in quality control as well, and it's what you think as a quality issue doesn't mean that it's other quality issue, So that's how it is, And then you have to decide between, can we fix it easily, how much does it cost, and what is the impact, So, and because the impact right now for wrong HDR is not very big, so no one cares. Just two guys on YouTube are actually complaining. That's not many. Not much.
Yeah, but listen, if there's any company here listening to this live stream,
I mean,
would
we have
be
30,000
down.
people are 30 watching.
Yeah, I would be down to get a job as the quality control manager or something like that for this HDR. That sounds like a position that they would pay very well, I believe. So I like it. I would like to get involved in the gaming industry. I like that. I would be happy to work on any display company because I have many ideas and things that I want from a display. It might be a TV or a gaming monitor. I would like to get involved in that kind of work. If it's gaming related with HDR, I would be interested in that too. So the problem is when you apply to get a job at NVIDIA or any of these companies, they ask you to have 10 years of experience and all that. And I don't have that experience. But if we look at HDR gaming right now, I see people messing up the games again and again anyway. So if they have years of experience, they might have years of experience messing things up. So that's nothing.
Yeah.
I don't care how many years of experience they have if they release that with so many problems. But yeah, I would like it. If I can get a job something like that, work on HDR, that's what I'm doing anyway. I'm just so into this stuff now that it's just all day doing this kind of testing.
Maybe someday. You never know. I mean, we will have more and more HDR content anyway. It's just a matter of time, There's just SDR will disappear at some point. Not in a very near future, probably, but at some point. No, it will not disappear in the next 10 years for sure. Not. I don't think so because
and it is even more weird. You're showing Metro Exodus. How can these developers, give you a great HDR on the console and then on the PC looks bad? What is that you had to do on the PC that you discover you have to change the?
There's a command line. What you can, I made a video about this because I made a video about HDR and I put my recommendations in a find in dark area setting, whatever. And then some people comment, you just have to do this command line. I can't remember.
Deep blacks, you need to look or something like that.
Something like that. And that's all what you need to do. And then you have the same HDR black level floor. And I was like, are you kidding me? I made another video. So are you kidding me? Are you stupid? This game is out since ages. There would be an easy patch. Just patch the bloody game, with this bloody command line. It's probably a 5 minutes job for every developer. But it's not happening. It's since years like that. I don't understand this. Really.
Wow.
Anyway, that's just crazy. Baffling me how this can be. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. This is just lazy. It's just so lazy. You know what I mean? There's no excuse for this.
So yeah, the only thing I'm really waiting for with this new, HDR analysis tool is to get those test patterns. So Lilium, please. This is gonna be like a game changer. If you can just put some HDR test patterns in game. So let's say you're testing your console games. You have the option to have like a full screen, for example, just to have a full screen black that it is responding to the game HDR. So you know that if it doesn't look perfect black on an OLED, the game has the black level race. You just need to lower your TV settings. That would be so useful just to have that. Test pattern that is responding to the in-game HDR, that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, because I get you, because it's so hard actually to so let's say for an example, Final Fantasy 16. I haven't there was no tool like this, so I did everything with my eyes, and I'm still doing this with my eyes, because to be honest, just because a tool is telling me something, I need to verify it anyway. I need to verify it. But in games, it's so hard, because you need to find a spot where you believe it's actually
It's
this spot
supposed to be
right there.
black.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I did this with Final Fantasy 16. I was like, it doesn't make sense. So when I'm lowering the fine tune dark area setting, I'm losing details. So I came to the conclusion there's no HDR black level raise. And after testing with my tool, I was right. But it took me ages actually to find this out, because you need to find the perfect spot. And yeah, it's so much easier if you would have a test pattern, as you say. Just tick it on, change it, find your dark area setting, or see if anything changes when you actually increase it from 0. Because then you also
Yes.
know it's. But yeah,
And
would be
ideally,
would
so
be great. Would be great.
what I would like to have is not only that. So have a test pattern, a near black test pattern, that it is responding to the HDR on the game. So if the game is messed
Yeah.
up, the test pattern is going to look back and bad. And then have another test pattern that's exactly the same, but that it is a reference, that it is not responding to the game. So you can actually see how messed up the game is. Of course,
Yeah.
if you change the TV settings or your display settings, let's say you're lowering the black level, of course you're affecting the reference, so you cannot use it then. But if you are using the reshade to fix it, then you have the reference that is not being affected. So you're
No, but you
tweaking
need
your
to.
reshade.
But you're missing something here. If you have perfect black on an OLED, if you decrease the fine tune dark area settings on your reference picture, it's still perfect OLED black. Or what you do is actually the wrong picture coming down to the perfect one.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
on
But I'm
an
thinking not only the perfect black, I'm thinking the grayscale, like having like
oh yeah, okay. Of course,
yeah.
if you have a grayscale, whatever, and you're changing your TV settings, you will have the reference picture as well. That's a problem, of course, but yeah. But
Yeah,
it
that
would
would
be
be
great if you
great.
have two black patterns, so one reference, 0 black, and then the original one from which is affected by the game. And you can just
Yes.
decrease the fine tune dark area setting or the brightness setting, because it will not affect the other picture, because it's already
Yes.
0 black, if you know. So this would
Yeah,
be
that
good.
would
But
be,
anyway,
yeah, that's definitely something needed. But then I want more. I want more of the grayscale to see, for example, how bright it's supposed to be. Because, like you're saying, for example, Final Fantasy, you see that you do have perfect blacks, but maybe the grayscale near black, you feel like it is elevated, like it
yeah,
is brighter
yeah.
than it should, maybe. So yeah, that's why if you can just do basically color grading for the game
Yeah,
or
not
something like
sure
that.
if I have anything from.
And also the mid-tones, how bright they are supposed to be, and also the highlights. I would like to have test patterns, near black, mid-tones, and highlights. Have the test pattern responding to the game and have a test pattern that is referenced. That would be perfect. So if
Yeah, okay,
Lilium
let
can
me.
pull that off, it would be absolutely amazing.
So here we have. Is this Ratchet and Clank? Yes, look at Ratchet and Clank. Look at a Ratchet and Clank. 1000 nits and perfect black level floor. And this is, sorry for the colors. Again, the colors are wrong. That's HDR and SDR. But look at this. This is just amazing. And that's why this is my reference HDR game, actually. When I start doing something before I test any other games, I test Ratchet and Clank if my settings are still working, because you never know. But I don't
So
have anything from Final Fantasy, unfortunately.
this is great. So Lilium is saying that that's easy, man. You're the man, man. This guy is a genius.
Sounds easy enough for
He
me.
said that's easy job. You're the man.
If this is easy for him, bloody hell. I mean, look, that's the thing, If you because for him it's easy, because maybe he's playing with reshade since years, Of course it's easy for him. I'm just starting with reshade, and it looks like a book with 8 million pages, So that's how it is. If someone
Me
is
too.
playing, or if someone is doing something for a long time and he likes to do it, it's of course easy, Of course.
it's overwhelming. I'm getting started with reshade, and it's just insane. The amount of options is just incredible. Let me ask you, Marcus, you're saying that Ratchet and Clank supports the system level calibration. What happens if you max out the system level calibration? You get 10,000 nits
Yeah,
on the game.
yeah.
Mm.
I have no video about this now, because it's using the LGG2 always as reference.
Okay, so
So
I'm
that's why you
concerned then. I'm concerned
yeah,
with the PC version. Because I mean,
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
if the game supports the HDR calibration app, um, yeah, because the problem is with the HDR calibration app is that on auto HDR games we have black level rays, and in my experience, look at that, it just started on November last year. Just started learning November last year. It's a beast. I started my YouTube channel like a year ago, and I've learned so much.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what I was saying, the games that supports the HDR calibration app on Windows 11, most of them have the black level rays. We have
Yeah,
Hogwarts Legacy. It supports that system level calibration. It has the black level rays. It is actually the only game that I've seen that supports the system level calibration. The HDR calibration app on Windows 11, it has perfect black levels. Is Returnal. That's it. Returnal and The Witcher 3 also. The Witcher 3, when you
yeah,
tested The Witcher 3, you said that on your PC it was not responding to that HDR calibration app. You know how PCs are. When I tested it on mine, it was actually, when I look at the highlights, I was seeing the 800 that I set on 797 max ELL that I set on the HDR calibration app. And The Witcher 3 has perfect black floor. But most of the games that are, for example, the other game that supports the HDR calibration app is Plague Tale Requiem, and it looks washed out. It looks terribly washed out. So I am concerned that this Ratchet and Clank supporting the system level calibration on the consoles, when they port that to the PC and they attach that to the HDR calibration app, and then it's gonna look washed out.
yeah. You're probably right. But
Well,
we will
hopefully not.
see. We
Hopefully
will
not.
see on. I recorded already a lot from Ratchet and Clank from the console, because I like to do a couple of comparison videos, also in terms of how good the graphic is actually, because I like to compare $4,000 PC with a $700 console and see if it's worse actually.
Yeah,
And most likely not, but it will be, of course, much better graphics. But of course, I'm looking into HDR, because HDR is just a reference on the console in Ratchet and Clank. And yeah, let's see.
hopefully
Let's see. We
it's
know on
very
the
good.
27th. I took a day off, just to make the video.
Yeah,
Because
Ratchet and
otherwise,
Clank. Yeah, you took the day off to play the game, make
yeah,
the videos. Yeah, so I mean, Ratchet and Clank is looking like it's gonna be like a tech demo, because they're gonna release this new, um, SSD, GPU decompression and loading stuff. Because
SSD. Don't start on this. You can play. I was thinking about, should I install a hard drive to test the game?
yeah, yeah,
Why not? Just
definitely,
like USB hard drive, and just move the game from the Steam folder over to the hard drive. I will just do this. Why not? It will.
yeah,
Let's see what's happening. It will work.
definitely.
Bloody hell! Don't believe all the bullshit what people telling you.
But I'm saying it looks like it is a tech demo. So
Yeah.
if it's a game that is releasing new technologies, and knowing, I mean, these developers, they are the best.
Nexus,
Spider-Man,
yeah.
it
Oh,
runs like a
Insomniac in
dream.
general, yeah.
Insomniac, I'm saying,
They're the best,
Insomniac,
yeah.
they're the best. But Nixius, it did a great job with Spider-Man, I have to say. The Miles Morales in the Amazing Spider-Man, they are probably the games that they run the best in my system, at least. They are like so smooth, like no fluctuations on the frame rate. It's like rock solid, no stuttering. It's just an incredible experience. And yeah, I am hopeful with Ratchet and Clank. I believe it's gonna run very well. I especially like that they implemented dynamic resolution scaling with DLSS at the same time, with upscaling in general, DLSS or FSR, because that's the best in my opinion. Because yes, VRR is good because if the frame rate of the game drops, you don't get screen tearing. But the best gaming experience you can have is a rock solid frame rate. You don't want that frame rate to change at all. So if it's 100, it's 100. If it's 120, 120, you don't want any fluctuations. So if you have dynamic resolution scaling and your CPU can keep up with that frame rate, then if the game gets more demanding, you just drop the resolution. With upscaling, you're not gonna tell the difference anyway, and you keep that rock solid frame rate. So I played Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and the Amazing Spider-Man. I played that at 100 FPS, rock solid on my PC, and I use with my LG C1, I use OLED Motion Pro High, which looks like 260 frames per second in motion. It's absolutely incredible. Okay, so that was probably one of the best, most fluid gaming experience I have for sure. It's just absolutely amazing. So I'm expecting Ratchet and Clank to be very, very, very good.
I'm expecting nothing else than a better game as on the PlayStation 5. That's but it's hard to beat because in my opinion, so I mean again, Ratchet and Clank is for me a reference on the consoles in terms of HDR, in terms of graphic or whatever. I mean, to be honest, after I did all the recording and whatsoever, you can see that the lower resolution in some parts with the checkerboard rendering and stuff like that. But still, we're talking about a $700, $800 console, versus my 4080 was $1,800, $1,800. So I can buy almost 3 PlayStations 5s, for the same money. And it's just a bloody GPU. So, of course, I'm expecting much more. And it's okay to expect much more, because you paid much more. So that's how it is. But let's see. On Wednesday, I think it's Thursday, 27th. Yeah. Anyway, so what I'm going to do today is hopefully I can finish my layer of Fear, and I like to look into this. I need to install it first, actually. Haven't done this. Like to look into this if HDR has improved, because HDR again was terrible in the demo version. Terrible, really, absolutely blown out highlights and stuff like that. Let's see if this is better. Maybe it's a recommendation then, the game. But Layers of Fear so far, Unreal Engine 5 runs actually interestingly very nice on the PlayStation 5. I mean, playing the performance mode looks okay. I mean, it's nothing impressive, to be honest. Not my type of games at all, because I'm a little chicken, when it comes to this. I'm not. I can't. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't like horror games either. I don't like to.
I like
scared.
Resident Evil. That's a different story. I played Resident Evil 7 was it Biohazard? In stream, Biohazard, yeah. And I was bloody hell. This was good, But it's you get sweaty hands after 5 minutes, It's like crazy. But anyway, Layers of Fear is of course not on the same level as a Resident Evil, but it's a nice game, Let's see. I will finish this video today.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna play Remnant. I beat the first one, the second Remnant 2, and it looks like, based on the reviews, it looks like it's gonna be like an improvement over the first one in every single way, and I'm gonna like that a lot because the first one was very good in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe I'm getting it as well, but I'm not sure if I should get it on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC. I'm not sure. I mean, I have a 4080 now. I should get it on the PC probably.
Absolutely. Somebody's asking us to do like the best HDR games to play on PC. I don't think we have enough games to make a video about that.
Yeah, Witcher 3.
It's a very short list.
It's very short.
Yeah. So the games that look good on the PC without you having to,
that's the point. Without tweaking anything.
Without
Witcher
tweaking
3.
anything.
Returnal?
Witcher 3, and I would say Returnal. Returnal, you just open it, it's perfect. It supports the system level calibration. Yeah. It's perfect. No black level rays. I remember
Spider-Man was terrible in HDR. Is it fixed? Nah.
I have to check Spider-Man again. By the way, I wanted to ask Lilium, why do I see, for example, in Plague Tale Requiem, I see black level race is so obvious. I mean, you just look at it and it's like terrible black level race, but the tools are telling me that the game has perfect blacks, and it actually looks okay on the tool. It looks terrible. I think I opened Spider-Man and it's the same. It looks like it is perfect. So I'm not sure what's going on. Why the tool tells me that it looks like it is perfect, but maybe it does have perfect blacks, but maybe the grayscale is elevated and that's why it looks grayish. So I'm not sure about that.
So we have here super chat. Thank you very much, SE. Hey guys, keep up the good work. One thing I would like all devs to do is add sliders for brightness and opacity of subtypes and HUD elements. Final Fantasy 16 is a good example. Yeah. I know. I fully agree on that. We should have separated sliders for the HUD, or we should actually be able to turn off the HUD in any game. In my
Absolutely. I mean, the only reason why I never played Genshin Impact, which I like it, the game, you cannot turn off the HUD, and there is like there is like a serial number that's this long, super bright on a corner of the screen. You cannot remove it for I don't know why. So that's terrible. I'm not gonna play the game just because of that. Just because I cannot remove the HUD. That is so terrible. I don't know why they don't let.
It's not just Diablo 4 for an example. It's like crazy. Always that you can change the HUD from the middle to the center. And when I played up to level 35, I did this several times when I played on my S95C, just to avoid any issues. You never know because if you play for a couple of days, couple of hours, always the same game, you just want to avoid issues. And you should lower this a little bit at least. It's so bloody bright. Anyway, that's
another thing about Spider-Man I loved. You can actually play the entire game with zero HUD. I'm not sure about Ratchet and Clank. Can you play Ratchet and Clank, or do you need the HUD to play the game?
No, most of the time. I mean, in my video, that's the one. You have no HUD at the moment. That's how I play. So I think it comes up when you're in fights or whatever. It will display something. So it's a dynamic HUD.
That's nice.
Which
that's
is
like Elden
fine.
Ring. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Like Elden Ring, for example, you can have an option to only have the HUD when you're in battle. Like it is automatically changing. That's very nice.
So Lilium says Death Stranding and Doom Eternal. Oh, I haven't looked into Death Stranding on a PC at all, and also not Doom
Stranding
Eternal.
Looks good.
So Doom Eternal is a game which has, I think, 12 million HDR sliders, roughly like that, where you can set everything from white point, midpoint, low point, whatever. It's like crazy, and gamma and whatever.
I've never tested Doom Eternal. I played the first one, the 2016 one, and I didn't like the game. That's why I didn't get Doom Eternal. He's saying it's good. The problem with Death Stranding is that the peak brightness doesn't tell you what it is. You have a picture, you have a peak brightness, it doesn't tell you needs. So of course we know you can test it and know what's the max CL and all that. But for people that don't know, what are you gonna do with that slider? Just looking at a picture there.
That's what I said this in so many. So first of all, people don't ever trust the in-game test pattern from games. They're just crap. I don't know what they're actually doing, but they're not showing the real thing. And then, as you mentioned, they have sliders sometimes where you just increase something and you don't know what you're doing. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand why they can't have, at least a nit value. You know what I mean? 1,500, whatever. I don't get it. So I think Formula,
You say, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Or they tell you the nit values in a code, like 10 is 1,000.
Yeah. So Formula 123. Thank you, Electronic Arts, by the way, for getting me a code. But you have a slider. First of all, you have in the very beginning, when you start the game for the very first time, you have two white pattern where you can set up HDR. And then I never got this back unless you delete your profile. So first of all, this
only appears the first time you open the game.
Yes. So and when you go to the options HDR settings, then you have the slider, and it's in from 0 to 100. Yeah, 0 to 100. Yeah. So, but 100 is 10,000 nits. So why is it not 10,000? You can't add zeros? Really? Is it
Yeah.
not? I don't get this really.
Also, the HDR calibration app on Windows 11 is a weird scale. So from 0 to 1,000 is very close to the nits values.
Yeah.
But then after 1,000, then it's whatever. Like the last value is 2,200, I think, if I remember. And if you max that out, it's actually 10,000 nits. So it is like a weird scale. Why just put the nits value? So if someone knows, the max CLL they want, they can actually, have that accurately, working there.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do.
Thank you very much, Sharers Khan. Best HDR games to play on PC using shader. Okay, we should do something like that. Yeah, absolutely love plasma and gaming tech content. So what I can do, because people really ask you for maybe doing more. So maybe the next stream in 14 days, because that's the only time really I have, or where I can spare the time. Maybe I'm trying to get OBS running. And is it possible actually to stream in HDR?
I believe so. There is a channel that talks about that. I have to check that channel out. I forgot the name. It's like a red hair guy that he's very good at OBS. I have to check him out, but I believe so. We can stream on
Because
HDR.
I mean, OBS is so much better than StreamYard anyway. StreamYard is very easy to use. That's why we're using this at the moment. It's just 2 clicks or whatever, and you set up a live stream. OBS is much more complicated, but the quality is much better. So even 1440p, if I would have a little bit more better internet, 4K wouldn't be a problem. But I'm looking into this. Maybe I can set up OBS next time with HDR. And we can play maybe a couple of games. The only thing would be then when I'm using my camera SDR, my face would look awful, but that's how it is.
I think on OBS, I think you can have your face on HLG. Actually, on OBS you can have your face on SDR and the game on HDR. I did that one time. I made a video. I think it was Elden Ring. My face on SDR or HLG, I believe. But yeah, you can have your face on SDR.
I have to look into this, because then we can have a better quality, and we can show videos like this in also better quality, because I can actually add. So the problem here, what I'm having, I can't add my Elgato capturing card to the stream yard, because then I need to buy the professional version, which is, by the way, $20 per month. That's a little bit too much, to be honest. $5, I would say, okay, you know what, $5 fine, but $20 per month, now that's a little bit too much for 2 streams per month, right now. Nah. Anyway, let me set this up next time for OBS, because I can add so many input cards for OBS as I like, and I have so many capturing cards now. Then we can have a little bit of maybe samples or whatever,
Let me answer the question here, because he was asking best HDR games to play on PC using shader. So maybe he's referring to, okay, now with these new shaders that we have, what is the best game to actually see that working? So you can use it. Of course, this HDR analysis tool works for every game. But if you want to see a game that looks very good after being fixed using this tool, check out the Cyberpunk settings that I shared, because I shared the reshade settings, and all you have to do is just download a single file. So you install reshade on the game, you copy that file, you open the game, and you will see the settings that I use there. It looks incredible. When I'm telling you that I said, okay, these settings are fine, Cyberpunk is looking perfect in my opinion. I'm not doing another settings video. I'm very proud of those settings. So that's something you can try using reshade, using these shaders now. It's looking incredible. So give that a try. That would be my recommendation, because Cyberpunk, after you fix it, is really amazing HDR. Incredible. Yeah, check that out.
Okay, SB Digital, how are you? Does your LG CX look bad now compared to your S95C, or is the CX still good? I answered this already in the very beginning, I think, from the stream. The CX on its own is good. As soon you compare to the S95C, it's losing. That's how it is. But it depends what you're actually watching or what you playing, because some or many movies or series are mastered up to 1000 nits, on Netflix or Amazon or something like that, and there is not much of a difference between CX and S95C. I mean, it can't be, because if you have the same mastering, more or less, the CX is, you have just then maybe, let's say, 200 nits. What is missing the CX to display 1000 nits or 300, whatever. So, and then there's not much difference. You have to look very closely. But when you compare, let's say, The Witcher 3 on Netflix, which is it on Netflix? I think so. Which has great HDR, and I play the same scene on the CX or at the same time. The CX looks very, very washed out, pale, not powerful enough. Really, that's a big difference. Yeah, it's a big difference. But we need to keep in mind there are 4 years difference. I think 4 years. CX is already an old TV.
Yeah, but one thing I want to bring up that is not known by many people is that the LG CX has an incredible motion clarity that needs to be tested. Marcus and I were working on that video actually, because the LG CX supports this OLED Motion Pro feature, which is that PWM. It's basically a feature that the TV reduces the persistence, the pixel visibility time, to improve the motion clarity. And the LG CX has a much better motion clarity than any sample and hold display that's 144 hertz, like the S95C or any other sample and hold display, because of this feature. So at 100 FPS, if you're playing your game at 100 FPS, even at 60 FPS, even at 60 FPS on the LG CX, if you use OLED Motion Pro High, that looks exactly like 240 frames per second. Okay, yes, it flickers, yes, it looks too dark, but when you move the camera, you're looking at 240 frames per second like motion clarity. So what that means is that, let's say you have a 240 hertz monitor, like one of these LG Ultra Gear OLED or the Asus model, these new gaming monitors that we have now that are 240 hertz. When you move the camera on that monitor, it looks exactly the same as on the CX at 60 FPS. Okay, so that is huge. Okay, now it flickers for some people. That's not usable at 60, but when you use the CX at 100 FPS, I have to guess because the LG C1 has a similar feature. And at 100 FPS or 120 FPS, it works at 100 FPS hertz. So you need to have your TV at 100 hertz or 120. It looks absolutely unbelievable in motion. And after you see that motion clarity, it's hard to go back. Okay, so that is something where the CX is vastly superior to that S95C. Okay, and it is not even close. It's a huge difference. So yes, the S95C is more colorful, over 200 nits full screen brightness. It has a much better screen uniformity, which you talk about that in your impressions.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's a big deal. Screen uniformity.
Yeah.
It's huge. Like when you have a solid color display on the screen, if you compare a CX with or a C1, any WRGB OLED, you compare that with a QD OLED, and it's not even close. It's gonna be much better. And I can see a huge difference on my plasma TVs. Okay, even when my plasma TV has some dirt screen effect, I have a Pioneer Kuro plasma TV. Still, even with a dirt screen effect, even with the screen uniformity, it's not the best, but the colors, when you display a solid color on the screen, it's so much better than WRGB, especially if you display a white screen. Oh my God, it's like incredible. So I heard professional calibrators saying that actually the S95C or the QD OLEDs in general, they are looking with these full screen colors, they are looking like plasmas, like closer to plasmas, because plasma TVs and CRTs, they do not have what they call metameric problems or something like that, which I don't understand. I will need to do my research about that. But I kind of get the idea what they're talking about, because I see that difference when I compare my WRGB LG C1 with my plasma TV. So I think those are the differences between those two.
I mean, what I need to add here is two things. So first of all, the S95C, I do not regret to buy this TV. And so because people are always saying, oh, S95C, same issues as the S95B, not even close. The S95B was terrible. in terms of pre-calibrated pictures and stuff like that. The S95C is like an LG out of the box, very, very accurate. And the reason why many calibrators actually like Glassy or Ninichian, they bought an S95C because of that, because of the panel uniformity, because of the colors, because of the accuracy right now. So, and it's just better than the G3. And many people don't want to hear this, but that's how it is. The G3 has advantages in terms of gaming in general, you know, fine-tune dark area settings, which is undeniable. But in terms of picture quality and overall, the S95C is so much better. And just the other day, you know, I tested near black pattern on the S95C because I was actually shocked. I was, oh my god, this looks so bad. You have banding and whatsoever, you know, it's a near black 1%, 2%, 5%. It's really bad on an OLED TV. And I said, oh my god, this is really bad. I thought the S95C has such a good panel, you know, and I tested this on the CX and the LG G2, and I said, yeah, it's much better. it's
much
really
better.
much better.
But you can still see some uniformity problems near black.
Absolutely. Okay, but we're talking about near black. As soon you have, you hardly have any content with this, you know, you can't see it. As soon we're talking about a proper brightness on the screen, a normal brightness, there's almost no problem. You can see, of course, when you look very, very closely, full screen, widescreen, your eye is telling you, oh, this is not the same color as on this side, you know, right to left. There is some differences. But do the same test. I have the CX next to me. I do the exact same test pattern with a HDMI splitter. It's a day and night difference. The CX has pink, green, whereas actually white. I can't see it.
Yeah.
You know, it's terrible. You know, but it's still on a high level, you know, but S95C is just much better. Anyway. So what do we have here? Yes, this one. CX still good, but S95C is next level. Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, but to expect, you know, in 5 years from now, the S95C is old garbage. You know, that's how it is. Technology is moving forward so fast.
Also, have you tried on the S95C, have you tried to push the colors, like, you know, just use the BT2020, that, you know, the calibrators, they said is inaccurate, you need to calibrate it and all that stuff. But have you tried to push the colors on the S95C to, you know, just to get, not a vivid mode like on the store, it looks disgusting, but just to get, you know, ferocious colors on HDR?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can change it to BT20, increase all the colors, and it's like crazy. Compared to the OLED LGs. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, but it doesn't look good anymore. Of course not. But you can see the color, how much advantage the S95C has over the LG OLEDs. Yes, and what we're missing actually, because there's no content, you know, to show this stuff actually.
But if you tweak the settings, just try to, you know, lower a little bit the color saturation, does that look good? Can you make it look good, basically? Can you make it look very, very colorful, but don't look like disgusting, and make it look acceptable?
No, the problem is, because when you talk about very colorful, you know, that the problem is when I'm watching, let's say, a cartoon, then I couldn't care less how the colors are looking, because you don't know actually, you know, what was the intention. But when you look reference videos like from Spears and Munsell, you know exactly how it looks in real. And, you know, if you're over-saturating colors, you can see it clearly. You know, and that's what I don't like then anymore. It doesn't get colorful anymore, because also most of the stuff outside or whatever, maybe we need to ask a calibrator, whatever. But for what you can see outside, like a tree, flowers or whatever, for what do you really need then? At what point do you need BT 2020? You know, at what point? You know, is a flower like a rose or whatever? Is this already BT 2020, or still we can use Rec 709? I have no idea, to be honest, because there are for sure colors outside in the nature, which we need a more wider color space than Rec 709. But which one? I have no idea. You know.
So what happens basically when you force that BT 2020 is that the skin tones look wrong.
Yeah, orangish.
They look orange. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
that shouldn't happen. So what happens there is that Samsung didn't calibrate that BT 2020, or they messed up the calibration, because
Yeah.
There's no reason to have to use DCI-P3. All the HDR content is BT2020. I mean, they should have that BT2020 mode calibrated, so when you open the games or any movie content, if the content is calling for those colors, they should the TV should display those colors accurately. That doesn't mean that the skin tones have to look incorrect. There's not, the one thing doesn't,
Yeah, but it's the
you know,
same on the
deny
OLED
the other.
TVs. When you change from normal to wide or extended or whatever the name was, it's also, you know,
No, but
skin tone.
no, what happens on the LG OLEDs is that BT2020 is default on HDR. So on SDR, yeah, on SDR
Yep.
by default the color gamut is, if you have it on auto, it clamps the color gamut. So you have
Yep.
you have BT709, but and you can force native color gamut, so it'll be like DCI-P3 and all that. But on HDR is BT2020. That's just the default. That's how the S95C should be. It should be BT2020
Yeah.
only and be calibrated. That's it. So if the content is not calling for those colors, then you don't see them, and you see accurate skin tones. That's how it should be.
Yeah, the problem is that I can't calibrate the S95C with my colorimeter. I would need to have a Spectra, 5 nano or even better, and that's too expensive. You know, we're talking about $2,000, $3,000. Yeah, the cheapest one probably around $2,000 used one, but it's just for calibrating one TV. Nah, I'm happy with the out of the box setting. To be honest, it's really good. I'm calibrated my CX with LG auto calibration, which is working great on the CX. By the way, it's not supported on the G2, still not, and I'm not sure if it's supported on the G3. You know, it's just a joke, you know, at this point, because anyway, I have to say the CX after calibration looks much better than before, more pleasant, you know, much more 3D, more something like that, you know, but still the out of the box setting on the S95C is very close. Absolutely. No, it's not, no, I wouldn't say it's you should spend, or I wouldn't say it's no point to spend money on a calibration, but don't expect a day and night difference on the high-end TVs nowadays. They're very good calibrated out of the box.
But I do think that it is definitely worth the S95C, at least. It's definitely worth calibrating if the calibrators can fix the BT2020 stuff, because you are actually, that's the only way you can actually enjoy the full power of that TV. If you cannot use that BT2020 because it's wrong, you're not using it on its full potential. So I think in the case of the S95Cs, it should be definitely worth calibrating. Yep. So yeah.
So Lilium writes, there's a gamut that represents most colors. They are present in nature, and it's inside the BT2020, but it's nowhere close to the edges of the triangle. Okay. Maybe you have to go outside for a couple of hours and look.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I know that you cannot represent with any display all the colors visible to the human eye, because you cannot have a display that has RGB, so you cannot have 3 primaries only to represent all the colors visible to the human eye, because you have 3 primaries, RGB, and then that triangle is gonna be less than the colors visible for the human eye, because the colors visible for the human eye are going beyond that, and you cannot have 3 primaries to cover all the colors. So the standard is actually going beyond. It's going the standard to represent, basically on a PC, to represent on a PC, no, like to represent all the colors visible to the human eye, you need to go beyond what's actually real colors, basically, to have 3 points, to have 3 coordinates, x, y, z coordinates. You need to go beyond what's visible to the human eye or something like that, because that's the only way you can enclose on a triangle all the colors visible to the human eye. So there's never going to be a display, at least with 3 primaries, that is gonna be able to represent all the colors visible to the human eye. That's my understanding. That was like a, just a Google search.
If the triangle is big enough, it should work.
No, because the problem is the shape of the problem is that you see this graph that you have on the left side of the screen. Once that thing is out of the way, you see that graph. Look at the shape of that graph. Move it to a place where you can see that graph. I think you turn that graph off because it's not very useful. But if you look at the shape of that graph, it has like a curve.
Yeah.
Look, pause that there.
Yeah.
So you see, this shape cannot be enclosed on a triangle. For that shape to be enclosed on a triangle, you need to go, for example, you need to go bigger than the colors
Yeah.
visible to the human eye. You understand? Because there's no way you can enclose that on a triangle. So that's what happens. So the triangle represents 3 primaries, red, green, and blue. There's no way you can have 3 primaries to represent all the colors visible to the human eye. It's impossible. I think that's what it is. That's what I was referring to. ACES, define.
It's actually possible. It doesn't matter if you can't see them. The red camera, yeah, I looked at the red cameras actually. They're like crazy, but anyway, captures like 30% of colors human eye. Just 30%. Bloody hell, huh? We're too advanced, that's the problem.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's really crazy.
Oh, so maybe what he's thinking like that, maybe you can actually have 3 primaries. Maybe you can actually have a display that is able to, it has 3 primaries, red, green, and blue also, but then it has some reds, some greens, and some blues that the display is displaying, but you cannot see them. So they're outside of the human visible thing. So maybe it is possible. Maybe.
No, it's not outside the visibility. It's outside the capturing possibility.
No, in this case, he's talking about the red digital camera, but I'm thinking, okay, if that's the case, maybe you can have 3 primaries.
I'm very sure.
Displaying colors
if it's
that
big
you
enough, then yes.
Yeah.
But it would be crazy big enough. Not possible, probably. Yeah, absolutely. But no, that's something. Look, I think in terms of TVs, I mean, look, the difference between CX and S95C is visible, but is it like a day and night? No, it's not. It's not like a day and night. It's like this is better, but it's not like that you turn on colors for the very first time. It's you have seen this already. I can't see much more of an improvement at some point. At some point it's just done. At some point it's done because what do you want more? We talked about brightness. Brightness at some point it's enough already. The S95C, I told you, Witcher 3, turn on HDR, you're getting ISO a little bit. So what do you expect more? Of course, full field brightness to get rid of ABL. It's perfect. That's what we need. But general maximum peak brightness, in maximum peak details or whatsoever, that's at some point maybe 2000 nits, 3000 nits is enough because you can't watch it anymore.
But here's the thing. I do want even crazy brightness, and here's the reason why. When you use something like OLED Motion Pro feature on this LG CX, you lose brightness. So imagine that if the display was a lot brighter, we're talking about it significantly brighter, you could have better motion clarity with the same level of brightness. So I don't want more brightness necessarily just to have a better HDR, which I do want. I do want more brightness. I want 1,000 nits full screen, even 10,000 nits.
Yeah,
I just don't want any developer. I just don't want any developer to display a full white screen. It would be insane to do that. It would be, they would need to put a warning before you open the game. Hey, we're gonna display at 10,000 nits white, so buckle up or use your.
Can you imagine that the test pattern to set up your HDR 10,000 nits? After this, you're blind. You can't play the game anymore.
No, so I don't want it for that only. Yeah. But here's the thing. For example, on the LG CX, I said 60 FPS, it looks like 240. So what I'm saying is that the motion clarity is multiplied by 4. So you get 4x motion clarity improvement. So then you're going to get a 4x reduction in brightness at least. Okay, you could have even more reduction in brightness. And now it looks 4 times less bright. But now imagine that the CX was 4 times brighter. Now you could have the same picture quality that the CX has, but with 4 times better motion clarity. That's why I would be interested in the TVs getting brighter, because you could get much better motion clarity by having that option. And if you're concerned about flickering, once you go 100 FPS, 120 FPS, 120 hertz, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to be bothered by flickering. You cannot You cannot tell that the TV is flickering at all. It looks, even if you display a solid white screen, it doesn't look flickering. It doesn't look flickering for most people. I cannot say for sure there's no way you're gonna see flickering, because it depends on the person, but highly unlikely it's gonna bother you in any way. So yeah, that's why I want more brightness. So when I see a TV, like an LCD TV, and for example, you heard this new NVIDIA technology, ULMB 2.0, for example, this new technology that some monitors are having now. It's called ULMB technology. What that is, basically, the screen is flashing. Okay, so for example, this LCD screens can get crazy bright, even full screen bright. So for example, these LCD screens can flash a full screen white that is very, very bright. It's actually bright enough to give you incredible motion clarity with enough brightness. So for example, the ULMB 2.0, that is just a standard of quality. So basically, when you see on a box of a monitor, if you see ULMB 2.0, what that means is that you're going to get at least 250 nits with 1000 hertz like motion clarity. So what that means is that that screen is going to look in motion like if you're playing your games at 1000 FPS at minimum. Okay, so it has to comply with that, but it cannot be less than 250 nits. So it needs to be bright enough, it needs to be clear enough. That is not going to be possible on an OLED. Right now, we cannot have any OLED that is ULMB 2.0, because the OLEDs are not bright enough to get to that level, to get to that standard. That's 250 nits, and you get that amazing motion clarity. It cannot happen. That's why I want the OLEDs to be brighter. So maybe when we get this phosphorus blue, you know, there's gonna be a new blue, phosphorus blue or something like that. Maybe that's gonna get crazy bright. But I am afraid that they are going to use that and just lower the power instead of giving you more brightness. They're just gonna increase the brightness a little bit and just lower the power consumption. And that's what that's probably what they're gonna do.
That's what I'm concerned about when I'm turning on my OLED TV. Yeah. That's that's stupid. Anyway, so Lilium wrote Reshade 5.9 just got released. Okay, that's good. Something to test for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean he's working on this a lot. Every day he told me he's working on this shaders. Definitely, if you can do those test patterns, man, that would be amazing.
Oh my, this would be great, really. This would be much. But I mean, the tool is so promising, you know, and it's, of course we can maybe, or he can, we can't. I don't know how to start shit like this, you know. I'm very happy that I can start the tool actually now. Oh, and by the way, there is if anyone is using this with an Elgato capturing card, so Elgato has an issue with this tool. Not an issue, it's a setting actually. So when you use the 4K capturing tool, which is the tool for Elgato, there's an option in a hidden menu, which when you close the card, when you close the software, it will enable HDR tone mapping on the device for SDR content, that you have the correct colors and stuff like that. The problem is when you close now the software, it's enabling this feature. When you're now opening your MPV player with this shader, it has the wrong colors because it's using the tone mapping. So what you have to do is, and I showed this in my video, you have to disable this, just a tick box, disable this, and then you're good to go. The problem is you have to start the 4K capturing tool first, then close it again, because then it's actually disabled, and then you can start your MPV player with the shader. It's a little bit annoying, but that's how it is. It's just on the Elgato MK2, not on my Elgato HD60, by the way. I don't know why. Anyway, just FYI, if someone is using this. So we're reaching 2 hours. I'm getting hungry, and I'm going to continue working on some videos, because today is Sunday here. My family is out. I have my peace. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, before we finish the video, just as a conclusion, because we dedicated this streaming to this new tool, this new HDR analysis tool, because we believe that this is really a game changer. This is so important. We have to say that there is no reason anymore for these developers to release a game with messed up HDR.
Yeah,
if they don't have
correct.
a reference monitor, they can use this tool. It's like what Lilium is saying. If they are eyeballing these games because they don't have the tools necessary to give you a great HDR, now it is available and it is free. Okay, it doesn't cost anything. So if any of these developers open their HDR game and they see with these tools there's no zero blacks, we have a black level race or whatever, they can fix it. Okay, they should be able to use this tool to guarantee a quality, an HDR quality control. This is available now, and it is so easy
Absolutely.
to use. There's no reason anymore to have messed up HDR after this tool.
Correct. I
So
fully agree. Fully agree. Absolutely. But time will tell. And I have not much hope at the moment, but it will get better over the time. It just takes too long, That's the thing. And again, I'm looking forward for Ratchet and Clank on the PC. I hope the best in terms of HDR, but I have my concerns, of course. Just because it's perfect on the PlayStation 5 HDR doesn't mean it's the same on the PC. Nah, but let's see. Let's see what's going on. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. 2 hours live stream was great. Great audience, great community. I hope we answered all the questions if there was some questions, but I hope we did this. Anyway, maybe the next live stream is in 14 days again, because 14
let's do
days
it
is
official. Let's do it official and consistent so people
yeah.
people get used to it and we get a bigger audience.
Every 14 days from now on, you get the most important news. Or just
And also
to
answer some
people.
questions, because on this one we didn't answer. It was not like a Q&A. This one we wanted to
No, it was not
talk about this because we believe it is really, really important. But yeah, thank you for everyone who showed up. Thank you to Brian Tech Therapy. Big shout out to him. He's a great person. I really like his channel, so check him out. Thank you for everyone here. Thank you to Lilium. We have to
especially, yeah, of course.
just clap this man. The work he's done is just absolutely incredible. So important, the work he has done. He has done more for HDR gaming than there's nothing right now is more important than what he's doing
Correct.
right
Yeah.
now with this tool, in our opinion. So yeah, definitely thank you for everyone to show up.
Yes, we are
And
still here, but we're finishing now. Okay, now, okay, let's make it official. Next, in 14 days again, 11 a.m. Unless there's some emergency or whatever, but I can't think about anything. Okay, if my house is burning, of course we can't do it. But unless, other than that, we can do it, of course. Yeah.
sounds
Okay,
good
no
too.
worries. Perfect. Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
We see you in 14 days. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.